Check, check, check. Is this thing on? Welcome to the show, everybody. Welcome to the show. We are back in session. I shall place down my mini flag, and I shall start to speak to you like I have for days and days and days. So, we're back for another episode, and we're going to get right to it. For the world is full of news because this world is very, very charged up with lots of people having lots of things to say. So, I shall take a sip. And when I take that sip, I shall finish, and I shall play a clip. What clip, you may ask? The usual. The upload, the download. The reason I bring this to you tonight, as always, is because it's ongoing. You don't know you're doing it. It's happening under every form of social media, comedy show, entertainment show, tonight, stuff, shows like that build in metaphors, like a show I actually really love. A show on Amazon called, what's that show on Amazon that we watched? The Boys. That was all political. If you didn't think about it and you break it down, it's very political. Homelander's supposed to be Trump. Anywho, when you watch this stuff, it leads to that. Fear is the path to the dark side. Fear leads to anger. Anger leads to hate. Hate leads to suffering, says Master Yoda. And it does. And I've been saying this before I came across the exact quote with a nice little Instagram border today. It does. And we have to break it down as to why these things occur and why we feel certain ways about certain things. So, that's exactly what we are doing. We're going right into some of this wonderful, interesting stuff that I've put together for you today. Here's one. Nope, that's not the one. I already played that one. Here's one. Tim Kennedy, MMA fighter, Strikeforce, UFC, among others. He used to be an Army Ranger, and here he is. He tweeted this last night. This went pretty viral today. I find it infuriating to see the outrage over our soldiers sleeping at the Capitol. We have been at war for nearly 20 years. We have had soldiers sleep on the dirt floors of bathrooms in peasant villages. We have had soldiers electrocuted in showers built by local contractors. And he goes on to have a few more tweets. We have had our soldiers blown up, maimed, tortured, burned alive, and hung from bridges. But now there is outrage because our soldiers are sleeping on the marble floors of the Capitol. Wherever you assign our military, you will find sleeping soldiers. They will sleep on everything and under anything. How many of our soldiers are sleeping in the sand in foreign lands tonight? I'm glad that they are there. I'm glad that they are ensuring a peaceful transition of power. But your pathetic virtue signaling with that you somehow care about them is beyond disingenuous. Don't pretend that you care for police officers now. Don't pretend like you care for our soldiers now. So Tim's going in here. Okay? Don't care for them when it suits your manipulative purposes. Care for them all the time. They are our nation's heroes and protectors of our freedom. Hashtag Washington, D.C., hashtag inauguration, hashtag National Guard, hashtag military, hashtag protector. And the picture that everyone saw, among many of the pictures, is a bunch of soldiers sleeping as noted before. Now, the reason I brought this all up is we are at war. We've been at war for, as he said, 20 years. And there was a process going on where current sitting president of the U.S., Donald Trump, wanted to try to bring people home. And since day one, he has faced backlash for wanting to bring home the soldiers and end the wars. Whether they said it would be unsafe or there would be work that we accomplished that was undone. Whatever the reason, it was problematic for him to get them home, and he couldn't. So where he could, he took numbers down, but the generals in the Department of Defense would have nothing else of it, and he was blocked. He was blocked trying to get out toward the end of this term, and I think that, again, bipartisan, I understand that there's certain benefits fiscally for certain areas of the government to have wars and have funding. That's not a reason to stay at war. And again, a lot of people again are saying, "Oh, look, they're sleeping on the floor. This is disgraceful. This is all because of Trump." But it's whether you're saying who did it, how it happened. He's right. Right now, they're at risk in foreign countries, and people have done multiple tours. People have been tortured, murdered, lost limbs, their lives upended and destroyed. And at some point, the war has to end. Again, 2001 was a long time ago. I was 16. And it's still ongoing. So it brings the question up of, is there a plan? Or are they going to talk in circles to the general public and keep this going for as long as they physically can? I don't know what the answer is to any of it. And I don't think anybody else does, but when somebody finally tried to get them home, it didn't work out and it was blocked. Also, there wasn't additional wars started, and where there was targeted political, not political gain, targeted strikes to open the, basically to do strategic strikes without having to go to war, as occurred. There was not a whole initiation of a war, even though we were all promised World War III off the bat. It never came to fruition. I don't think that was ever the plan, and I don't think that was what was going to happen if he got another term. The truth is that a lot of politicians on both sides are playing things for their benefit with other nations, such as China, who has their talons in deep. Again, Stilwell slept with the spy Fang Fang, and he's involved again with this impeachment, and you would think that they would have picked a better person than somebody that is completely in question of having had sexual relations with a Chinese spy. But we are where we are. And the only thing that I keep trying to bring everyone to is we got the flag, right? We have a flag. We're all united. Doesn't matter what party. And at some point, you don't want your nation to be in a war going on 21 years. And then when you say 40 years, that doesn't work out for anybody. And you have to feel bad for the people that are in our military that are being put there now and facing this never-ending, daunting task of being away from their families, risking their lives, and all the other horrible areas it puts them in. So, one thing is for sure, a way to help unite and a way to put a good check on your resume when you get in, Joe Biden, since they didn't let Trump do it, you can stop the war. And I call on you to start to withdraw and stop this war, and not in slow motion. And at some point, Afghanistan has to be self-sufficient. Iraq has to be self-sufficient. And if they can't be, it's also not our job to continually be a babysitter for the rest of eternity. So yes, there's more troops right now in D.C. than in Afghanistan and Iraq times 3. And that was like big breaking news. Everyone couldn't believe it. And everyone feels bad. But feel bad when they're not in our nation. And feel bad when they're in a situation that is endlessly worse than being at the Capitol. And always support them. Because, again, they are the link to our freedom. And it should not go and be taken lightly that they put up such a sacrifice for, again, things like our freedom to live and not be oppressed, and freedom of speech. And a lot of people don't take into the fact that, like, that freedom of speech is a very, very big thing. And we know right now the question is it under attack? And there's a lot of evidence to say that it is under attack. This doesn't sit well with a lot of people that were soldiers or are still currently soldiers. So somebody had tweeted about this, and I don't know where the screenshot is, but they had a great debate. Oh, it was Jake Tapper. Jake Tapper from CNN had an issue with freedom of speech, so somebody wrote back who used to be in the military and lost his legs. Believe he's actually in Congress now. And he said, this is the type of freedom of speech that I lost my legs for. They went back and forth, and Tapper didn't take a step back and say, this is probably not an argument that I want to have in this way, but he didn't take a step back. And he still questioned everyone's right to speak. It was disturbing. I should have had that for you. I didn't think I was going to even go to that. I had a full plate yesterday, so I didn't even load that up. But moving on. Here we go. Now this is where we get interesting. I always like to look at hypocrisy. I like to look and break things down on a different level than you're just, again, uploaded at, where you're downloading the information, they're uploading it to you. So this is where I like to bring my show. So this is a tweet. It says, if President Trump had told his supporters to attack Biden supporters in supermarkets and diners and gas stations, if he had told them to absolutely harass Democrats, I would endorse impeachment. But he didn't say that. That's Maxine Waters. And that I played you that quote recently. And that quote pissed me off the day I heard it, back when it was originally said, pisses me off now. And I agree with this. I agree with, if he went around acting like that, yeah, there would definitely be grounds for impeachment. And he never really did do that. Now, you could say there's a lot of conjecture, and you could say what he meant and how he said it. And a lot of people do. And that's their right to come to their own conclusion about what somebody's intentions are. You can't tell them what you believe a person's intentions are can't be correct, because all you have is what's in front of you. Again, in court, that would be an opinion, and it wouldn't hold weight if the court is ran correctly and fair based on facts. However, this quote is a direct inciting of violence. This was said in the beginning as this started to pick up, and people were getting kicked out of restaurants, cursed out, yelled at, all that. And it was accepted. And again, this is why I say, if you have accepted behavior and you watch it long enough, it starts to proliferate a new culture. It's a culture shift where political violence and anger, and when you feel angry, it's okay to act out. And if they're not with me in my view, then they're against me. And that's what happened here. And that happened more and more and more over the years. And did Trump handle it like a politician or in a way that I would have? No. He handled it by, yes, calling names, acting angry and childish at times, and being an ego-driven big man on campus. I don't find offense in that personally. I've learned to deal with a million different personas in my life. And that is what Trump is. He's got one hell of a persona, got one hell of an ego. We all know that. And I don't think there's much to debate about that. But he responded to it in more of a petty fashion than saying, everyone's acting like a baby, somebody get a bottle, and I'm going to leave it alone, I'm not even going to answer it. But again, they found that he would bite and he would fight back and call names and make great things for the media, along with creating a division that would help incite their side. So the radical left went at him. They went at him hard. Again, they tried everything they could in the entire world. And it drove him to answer in ways that no other president has ever responded before. And that's why that entertainment click value went through the roof, and it was everywhere, it's plastered in your face. These new stations are going to be very upset when Trump leaves, because selling ads is not going to be as easy. Keeping users' eyes on the product is not going to be an easy task. It's going to be a very difficult one. Because everybody, and Pete Davidson said it on SNL best, everybody, what are we going to do when Trump's gone? Maybe he should win because we have nothing left. It's been a complete culture shift. The whole thing's changed. And again, if he was to go out and say that he wanted to have people physically attacked, then yes, that would be called factually based. But again, the issue with fighting, I like to go back when they say fight, and you know what he meant by when he said fight. I don't know what he meant, because when there's a protest, you're fighting for your right. It doesn't mean like, oh, we're going to go assemble where we're fighting to open the restaurant, or we're fighting to do this. That doesn't mean I'm being violent and I'm going to burn things down, or I'm going to attack people or charge the Capitol. Fighting is used by unions. It's used by everything. It's basically, if you don't break it down into being violent, that it means to gather together and proceed to really give it your all and protest and show we're not going to accept anything different. Now, you could debate all you want about the election results and the election security, whatever. That's out of the question. It's over now. But when you say fight, it means to assemble and to fight and for your right. It doesn't mean to fight. So we're going to continue with that on that train of thought. Okay? Bam. So, I'll be the first one to say, I didn't listen to Trump's entire speech on the 6th of January. I listened to a snippet. I didn't have the time, and I didn't have the ability to listen to this whole speech. I saw the fallout, but I didn't hear the whole speech. I didn't hear everyone else's speech. I heard no one else's speech, to be honest. I heard the little clips, the trial by combat that was said by Rudy Giuliani. But so I can't attest to exactly what this person is tweeting here, where he said in his speech to be peaceful, denounced violence, and told his supporters to go home in a video Twitter took down during the breach, and has repeatedly said violence is wrong, like 6 times yesterday, talking to reporters too, but okay. And that's in response to the Hill posting, just in, Trump denounces violence 1 week after the Capitol riot. And it's just, this is where we say interpreting the news has to come in, and you have to use critical thinking. If you didn't watch all the times he's denounced the violence, and again, he did post something on Twitter that day, and they did take the account down, and then they let him back for a minute, I think, at some point, and then he's gone forever. He was permanently suspended. We talked about that. It's a new term, because in 2021, you could just make up new terms and definitions that mean whatever you want, and you just put it on the line, and it's supposed to just be accepted. So when he was permanently suspended, expelled from Twitter in the real world where I kind of live, you had, he said that he didn't want violence. Again, there's question about his timing, about things leading up to it, and questions about what intel, because today there's a lot of talk that all of this was planned on Twitter and before the event. So was there chatter? Did anyone know? Did he know? That's all other questions that could get answered. I don't know. But to say that he never referenced the violence at all was absurd. It's not true, and the Hill is tweeting it out and saying it's finally been done. He has finally denounced it, and it took him a week. To make him look bad in any shape, way, or form, and get their clicks and get their agenda and push it right to your head. And it keeps happening, and you got to call BS where you see BS. Because unless you like being sold a pipe dream of ridiculousness, you kind of, if you're of a certain age, you don't want to live in fairy tale land. You want to take the cloth off your eyes and be like, hey, you're a news source, give me the news. If you want to tell me your opinion or break it down, and like everyone knows that watches this program, yes, I lean right. We all get it. But I look at it and I talk about it in a common sense way. And we could disagree, because that's the whole point of it. And of course, this is a comment section, and where we have unknowingly Bella right partay. So I'm going to give that a like. Feel free to comment. But yeah, there's got to be a point where that does not happen every time there's news, because it's not fair to skew the news to the way you want it to look. It led to division. It's part of the division. Everyone needs to own their part in the division. And the media, oh my God, the media is creating such division. Next. Here we go. We have another tweet. And these tweets I put up make a lot of sense if you break down a lot of it. Just a reminder that almost every violent BLM Antifa The Antifa riot in 2020 was organized on this platform, meaning Twitter. Dozens of people murdered, cops badly injured, billions of money in property damage, and horrible terrorist attacks like Kenosha, and all organized on Twitter. No participants suspended. Antifa still has accounts. So put that in your head and think that out. Sitting president doesn't have an account, whether you agree with it or not, even though it affects freedom of speech and getting messages out. It's basically a big mute button because he was never covered in the news outside of the bubble that they created. So whatever they wanted you to hear is what you heard. However they wanted to frame it is how you were fed. Twitter was his direct link to the entire world. The people hated that. They wanted his Twitter taken away a long time ago. For no reason, because he got his message out. It's all extremely problematic. So, nobody on the other side has been really removed. And if they were, it's not massive. So you have to ask the question, why? If this is about safety, and just safety alone. And if social media at this point in time has become so bad, why would Jack Dorsey not just take it down? Why would he not just take his servers down for Twitter? Why would they all say, you know what, maybe social media right now is creating violence. Let's take it all down. Instead of just silence certain people under the guise of it's all because of your safety. It makes you think. Because once you start thinking, they don't like that. Because the answer is clear. There's more to it than what they're putting out. It can't be for your safety if all summer long they let federal buildings burn, towns fall, all people busing themselves across the nation with Antifa to go to the next site to riot. And they had a very big network through Twitter. That was okay then. All of that was okay. But you can't have somebody tweet because of the way you broke down their tweets, which wasn't even 100% in black and white factual lettering in front of you. That makes you think. Now, there's more fun thing as we go through all of this, because we like to look at the serious situation of politicians inciting and enraging people and creating violence and calling for it and giving directions. So, DC Drano posted, remember AOC gave tips to rioters on how to avoid responsibility for their insurrection. And I said, I have to double check this, even though DC Drano is a very, very good source for stuff that's already been fact-checked by him. Real fact-checked, not kind of, sort of, partly fact-checked. So I looked it up, and this is actually on AOC's Instagram account. I give you what to wear, what to bring, and don't bring. So, what to wear? I'm gonna enhance this for everybody's viewing pleasure because you should be able to see it. So this again is a AOC member of the House telling everyone protesting safely, what to wear, nondescript solid color. Layered clothing, cover identifying tattoos, goggles and masks, emergency contacts written down, tie your hair up, heat-resistant gloves, what to bring, water for drinking and tear gas, snacks, washcloth, earplugs, protest signs, bandages and first aid supplies, cash, change, and ID. Don't bring cell phone without first turning off face touch ID, going on airplane mode, and disabling data. Jewelry. Anything you don't want to be arrested with, such as knives and what looks like weed in a bag. Contact lenses. This is a politician in the United States of America giving a play-by-play on covering your identifying tattoos. Just in case you burnt the Louis V down to the foundation. I don't understand how she's not held responsible and to a higher standard while she's in office. And then everybody goes, how did he say it? How did Trump say, fight like hell? Well, I'm still going to go out on a limb and say that all of that description instructional kit on how you should prepare to go to essentially battle and not get caught, while the results every night was violence, death, and fire and structural damage like never seen before, I'd go on a limb to say that's factually wrong and really, really, really awful of a politician to Instagram out, when the message should have been, we all support you to peacefully gather and continue to fight. See, they use the word fight right there. Bam, I just used it. But you cannot be violent. That is hurt for the cause, and it is incorrect to do, and it is harming yourselves and everyone in the nation. But nobody came forward with that cool thought. They came forward with, you don't tell people how to protest. They're angry. Who has to be polite and peaceful? And they called for more people to do more protesting while all of this was going on and not denouncing it. And then people involved with Joe Biden and Kamala Harris's campaign helped bail these people out that did the damage. And all the famous people said, I don't care, I'm bailing these people out. And then some famous people were all for it until their private gates were breached in Beverly Hills. And then they said, these people are looking for blood. This is not okay, because it came to their doorstep. The hypocrisy and the blinders that we wear as humans these days is mind-boggling, to say the least. This is not okay. And this culture, wherever it's leading to and led to, has been proliferated by both sides. And for years, there's been tons of rallies and gatherings, even post-election, and nothing was done. The only damage was done was when the counter-protesters from Antifa and BLM showed up and attacked people. There was not a ton of violence at all. There was very rarely any violence tied to these Trump supporters that had these rallies. Of course, that all shit the bed last week. So we go through what can sustain this and start this culture shift, this whole entire shift of the way the human mind thinks. And it's since 2017, what has been deemed a derangement syndrome, called Trump derangement syndrome, has led to people thinking it's okay to call for violence. It's okay to change the rules when it's for my way, because my way is correct and you're wrong. This totalitarian way of thinking, it's what I say, and if it's not, I will punch you, is a very, very bad way to think. And people watched it and got angry and watched it and got angry and watched it and got angry. And they were told there should be more of this. There should be more unrest in the streets even after the election. That's what Kamala Harris said. When do we take responsibility, and when do we call out our own parties? Everybody that is playing this identity politics and stoking the fires of anger and rage, and then on top sprinkling in let's go be violent because it's okay, because it's our cause, is the problem. And I hereby call for all of these people to be impeached from their positions. It's time to get new politicians in. Maybe give them a psych test on the way in. Maybe give the psych doctor a psych test before they administer the psych test for the new incoming people. Because this is crazy. It's not acceptable. It's incorrect, and we're living it. Again, we're living it every day. And it's just happening, and it's going unchecked. And everyone is gathering that is watching mainstream media going, it's all Trump. But again, did Trump tell his followers to make sure today to wear masks and cover your sleeve, cover your identifiable tattoos so you don't get caught? He didn't say any of that. He didn't tell the guy dressed like a stupid bull to take off his bull horns and his face paint and maybe cover his face. No, because I don't think his intent was for the Capitol to be overran. I think he wanted a sign of unity, and he wanted everyone to stand there and protest the way that you see it, like back in civil rights marches, like when they reenacted it in Forrest Gump, and all you can see is people by the Washington Monument as far as the eye can see. All of that is, I believe, see, because this is conjecture, this is me, this is what I think. And you could think differently, and neither of us can be proven wrong. All you can do is bring it to court and prove it. And there's just no proof unless there's some new evidence. So the whole impeachment thing is a very, very slippery slope. But Here we go. The media are accusing a Republican lawmaker of insurrection for quoting Nancy Pelosi. Now, what do you mean? Now, this is where hypocrisy comes in, ladies and gentlemen. And this one is so...
That was easy.
It is very easy. I'm sorry, my throat's a little hoarse. I have a sore throat. I hope to God.
I'm having trouble hearing you.
Now Siri's listening in on our conversation. The spies are in. Okay, so what did he do? What was this insurrection? I will tell you what this insurrection was. Holy shit. Is Gomer encouraging more uprisings? Did I hear that right? Everyone's tweeting all the blue checks. Oh my God. I don't know why there aren't uprisings all over the country. Maybe there will be, Gomer says. Perhaps hopefully. Okay, so let's get this straight. You guys do know that that is Nancy Pelosi's quote that I played for you 3 days ago on the show. 4 days ago, whatever. Last week. Whenever it was. Played it within the past 5 days. But we don't ever put it together, because when she said we want uprisings all over the country and there should be more. And then when Kamala Harris said this should not stop, not even after Election Day. It's okay, because it's their side. Again, cities were on fire. People were dying. Black people were dying in the name of Black Lives Matter, which was bizarre because the people there defending their businesses that were black, the retired police officer, David Dorn, shot in the face on Facebook Live. Killed. And he was black, and if Black Lives Matter, nobody would have shot that man. So the conundrum is, this whole thing is an anomaly. It's complete. It's like you're in Bizarro world, if you feel that way, because that's how I felt when I found out that this poor guy got shot. Yet it happened. But they continued, the politicians, calling for more uprisings. Nancy Pelosi was all for it. So when somebody quoted her and said the same line, it was as if the world had come to a halt and everybody was calling for more protests and riots and insurrection. But you see, to 90% of again, when you combine Democrats and Republicans together, they all thought what was happening this summer, all these fires and buildings being destroyed, looting, damage, people dying, they were all against it. And again, no one would talk out because you were called a racist if you disagreed with any of it. So they watched the media and they dealt with this. And this is where we're at now. So when you quote somebody and say the same thing and everyone loses their mind, that's when you know we've hit hypocrisy boiling point. Right there. Because it was what was said. Let's continue. More on Trump. Now, this is starting to go around the internet. President Trump reportedly has more pardons ready to go, as well as executive orders, plans to declassify Ukraine intel, and appoint special counsels. Unclear which he will do. Again, it's up to this man that is in there right now to appoint special counsel for certain issues, and that way they actually get looked at. Because then Biden would come in and it would already be underway, and if he stopped it, there'd be questions as to why he stopped it. I don't even know if legally he could stop it. I have a little bit of problem with telling you that 100% because I don't know. However, you get the ball rolling, that's a good thing. It's a very good thing. Pardons, there's a lot of people that say, will it be Snowden or... I don't even know if Snowden's really been talked about, but I've heard something like that. I really don't know Snowden's status in the world these days. But one is Julian Assange from WikiLeaks. If he's one of them, I don't know what the plan is on how to go about that. I don't know if that's something he'd consider due to what corruption he's dealt with. But it makes you think that it's going to get very interesting between now and Wednesday, right? Wednesday would be the 20th? I think it's Wednesday. So let's see where that goes, because that could get very interesting. The news will make a lot of money off of inciting you, I'm sure of it. And I'm sure you'll keep your eyes put to the television. Here's a good one. Project Veritas today, James O'Keefe says, Jack, we have insiders within your company coming to us, literally, about to blow the whistle on you. I've never seen such an influx of tech whistleblowers in my life. Reach out to us on our signal at 914-653-3110. James O'Keefe, of course, is talking to Jack Dorsey. I really think that's his last name. For some reason, that's what's in my head. Jack, the guy who owns Twitter, right? So on Jack's, that was response to Jack's post. I do not celebrate or feel pride in our having to ban at real Donald Trump. Why are you at real Donald Trumping him at this point, Jack? He's permanently suspended. Remember, you made up that word. He's not coming back. So I don't know why you're tweeting him unless you have some sort of plan to unpermanently suspend him. So from Twitter, or how we got here. After a clear warning, we take this action. We made a decision with the best information we had based on the threats to blah, 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 blah. I'd love to see people come forward and see exactly what they have to say, because Twitter is spearheading with Mark Zuckerberg and big tech how to shut us up on a massive scale. We can still go out and make noise in our lives, but of course there's repercussions possibly and more down in the pipe. But again, if you take away the mass network that we've created that has expanded the human mind, that in itself is a very big attack on freedom of speech. Okay, so we'll see where that goes, Jack. Permanently temporary preventing Trump on Twitter. Bunny Party, like Democratic Party. Okay, next. This one is a screamer. I saw it, I had to do a little research on it, and I was dumbfounded. Before I go any further, I would like for parents to sit down and think about this. Your child is going to be in a position over the upcoming years to either learn the new definition of racism, that they should judge everybody and treat them differently by their color and their cultural background, or they're going to learn that everybody is created equal and to treat people like they would like to be treated. I'm part of that thought line. If my child came home and was like, my teacher told me that I am a problem, and now I feel like I'm a problem and I must put people above me because I'm so bad because I was born this way, is the same thing like telling somebody that's gay that they are bad for being gay when they were just born that way. We're getting into a slippery slope of trying to be so politically correct that we've shat the bed on being politically correct, and we're actually turning ourselves into racists. And I will show you, because I don't just say things, I show you. That's the point. And I don't think that you really see this on your mainstream media. So, a Cupertino Elementary School forces third graders to deconstruct their racial and sexual identities, then rank themselves according to their power and privilege. I've obtained exclusive whistleblower documents from inside the classroom. They will shock you. So let's see these documents. I needed to see more and understand more before I could bring it to you, but I found it in pretty quick order. And this has been going on, before I load these up, this has been going on around the nation with all different things like the 1619 Project and other schools adding to their curriculum to teach children that by being white, they are essentially part of a massive problem. And if they're a male and they're straight and white, well, that's the hat trick. Very, very bad. And parents, some parents are trying to be so politically correct that they think this is okay. And again, the extreme answer to this is if you believe your offspring is part of the problem and that you yourself are part of the problem, why did you have offspring? Why in the world did you go and have another child? That would be complete hypocrisy, and that means you think you're a problem and you want to expand on that problem, so you're just virtue sending because you had a child. But let's get into this because we need to talk about it. It's disturbing. Which of your identities hold power and privilege? Which ones don't? So you have to write 2 paragraphs in your writer's notebook, okay? Paragraph 1, pick 2 identities that hold power and privilege. Explain why they do. Paragraph 2, pick 2 identities that don't hold power and privilege. And there needs to be at least 1 full page of writing. I always thought when I was in school, if you could get your thought across without filling up an extra couple of paragraphs of banter, needless garbage, you should be able to do that. If you could get your thought across in 8 sentences, that's direct and very, very efficient. Why must I add 19 more sentences to reach a word count or a full page? And then you start. Who didn't do this when you were in school? I'm going to space the words and the letters out a little bit, just so I could get there quicker. It's ridiculous. The right thing is, make your point, make it good, or you're failing. That's the right way to teach in my book. So let's see. Let's keep diving in. Okay, what are my social identities? Add onto your identity map. Race, parentheses, white, black, or African American, American Indian, or Alaska Native, Native Hawaiian, or Pacific Islander, multiracial. You could tell I don't wear contacts. I'm squinting to read this so I don't have my face in the actual block of text. Okay, ethnicity, Irish, Hong Kong, or French. You go through the socioeconomic, upper class, middle class, working class, gender, female, male, non-binary, cisgender, transgender, age. Okay. Again, when you were in the 3rd grade, you know things about yourself. Some people are questioning it. But it's very hard for a child, I would say, to come to a conclusion that they're non-binary. They could say I'm male and don't feel that way, or there's an issue, or I feel like I like boys, or I like girls. There's all different things. Like when I was in the 3rd grade, I knew I liked girls. So I can tell you right off the bat, you know stuff about yourself. But to have to write it down and talk about it in front of your class is something that, if you're not an extrovert, would be really frightening. And then to classify and break everything down just to find how problematic you are or how special you are compared to the people that are problematic is really disturbing. It's disgusting, and it should be widely condemned. I really feel bad for children that are being programmed to be racist, one way or another. And again, I've had white people in my life tell me I can't possibly understand anything because I'm white and I'm privileged, and they too are white. So that is nonsense. It's echoing nonsense of stupidity that's being launched at people. So I guess the way to answer that is to make this type of curriculum up somehow. So you have your languages now that you speak, your nationality, your abilities, if you're able-bodied, differently abled, family structure, if your parents are still together, your parents are separated, mom and dad, single parent, 2 moms, 2 dads, foster family, non-parent, all of this to, again, remember, you're in the 3rd grade, and say that your parents are just divorced. Let alone, say you have 2 moms, and people might think it's a little strange as they're learning about how the world works. And now your 2 moms are divorced. This puts a lot of pressure on a 3rd grader to go out and tell his whole class and have to admit it to his teacher or her teacher or their teacher. It's a difficult thing to do. And then at the end of it all, what happens if you're still told, but you're still white and you identify as cisgender? So you're the problem. After all of the hardships you've gone through and how you don't feel okay inside, let's shovel some more crap on this child and tell them that they're still privileged and they should yield way to anybody else who this curriculum says is not privileged. Now, what happens if you had a crazy teacher and the crazy teacher decided to turn the curriculum on their head? And they said, you know what? You're not privileged, and the black person's privileged in this case. What was the teacher mistaught this? And now everyone's like, hey, you know what? I have it out for this person. They're less than me. That's considered and is definition of racism, and it should make you angry that our children are being indoctrinated to look at people by all of these factors instead of treat them like another human being. Not to mention, not only won't they treat them like a human being, they will mistreat them widely on a whole array of things. And I'm getting passionate about this because I really find it disturbing, and I want to. And I had Unknowingly Bella yesterday in the comments bring this up. The way we see color is literally the refraction of light through a human's pupil. That's what people want to judge this on. And does this not make you crazy? Does it not make you feel completely insane listening to it? Go off in the comments about it if you'd like. And I keep getting that moment where I have what I was going to say, and then it goes away. But I could go on forever. We're going to go to the next slide because there's still more. We're not even done yet. So which parts of your identity hold power and privilege? Circle the identities. White, middle class, cisgender, educated, able-bodied, Christian, English speaker, cisgender male, U.S. citizen. Well, oh my God, I am a huge, huge privileged idiot according to this. Do you know what? At some point in your life, whether I have every one of these classifications, right? Or if I have none, when you go out into the real world, someone's going to look at you one day and go, wait, you think you have some sort of privilege? Either do the job or don't, or I'm firing you. That's the real world. They don't look at you and go, oh, you're bad at your job, but you're white and privileged so you can keep it. Or they don't go, hey, you're bad at your job, but you're underprivileged because you hit a couple of these. You're not white, you're not middle class. This is not how the real world works. Maybe with the indoctrination, and thank God I'll be well toward the grave by the time the world takes a full turn to Insano land. Maybe that is how it'll work. You'll just walk in and be like, hey, you're white, get to the back of the bus. And people will be like, yes, get the white man to the back of the bus. Which is the exact opposite of what happened with Rosa Parks. And Rosa Parks is a national hero because she stood up for what was right. And right now, in 2021, we're trying to crap on anything we've done with ending racism. By telling all of our children how to be racist. We're giving them courses. It's like, you know what? Let's hold off on the math and science. Let's just teach you how to be a racist bigot. Wow. This is our big accomplishment. We are sinking as a society, ladies and gentlemen, and this is exactly how. It's proof. I feel horrible that people are learning this crap. Some social identities hold power and privilege, others do not. Even within us, there are parts of us that hold some power and other parts that are oppressed. So this basically gives us a scale. We can minus the privilege from the, and if we have a negative, we're oppressed, and if we have a positive, we're privileged. This is why we work to understand our identities within society. We need to always examine yada, yada, yada. So before I answer my next topic, which is coming up, you need to make parents aware of this, and you need to give them analogies. Some parents are so indoctrinated by the PC culture that they will, again, we did a story recently on this, and again, whether it was fake or not, we can't prove because it's a Reddit post, but there was a person that wanted to name their child Adolf to make him less privileged, to make him feel what it's like if he wasn't white and cisgendered. If she's assuming he's cisgendered. This is a crazy time in our lives that people are doing things to sabotage their unborn children. Well, there was a couple of years ago that wanted to name their child Adolf and the middle name Hitler because they were complete insane white supremacist neo-Nazi psychopaths. And I believe their child was taken away from them because it was an endangerment. And you'd say, that's really good for society. These people were clearly not stable. And now you flash forward less than 5 to 7 years after that, and people are going to name their children Adolf to actually affect them negatively. And it's probably, by many people, applauded. Think about that. How quick, whether it was with the help of social media and the regular media, and how incited everybody has gotten by becoming so extreme and watching this all go down, that this now, in only 5 to 7 years, might have even been less. Bam, we've just slid off like a freaking tsunami, and we went to complete crazy town literally that quick. Not even a decade. You don't think that things are being really, really, really polarized? Well, I got news for you. It seems to be okay to name your child Adolf to affect their life now. All right, moving on. Out of the topic of how all of the children are being completely ruined. CBS Chicago, Mayor Lightfoot wants to reopen restaurants and bars, quote, as quickly as possible, citing risk of underground parties spreading coronavirus. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we know that there's been underground parties. And it's been brought out that restaurants and bars really were not the spot that was spreading it the most. Because you had limited party. Like you could have 4 people to a table. You couldn't do anything more than that. But everybody now, being that we're just days away from the election, is coming to the realization that we do need to start opening things. Even though this is being brought to the forefront, and the media has been hushing it. Dave Portnoy of Barstool went and opened the Barstool Fund. Shout out to Dave Portnoy for saving Portobello restaurant on Staten Island. It is delicious. I love that restaurant. They're part of the Barstool Fund. So they did this out of nowhere once it was all said and done. The election's done. It's all done. Everything's done. The inauguration's coming. It's not just her. I told you last week, Cuomo's, we got to get everything open as soon as possible. There will be nothing left to open. If only he heard our cries for the weeks beforehand, instead of try to destroy people for fighting for the right to open the bar or a restaurant and scaring people with tactics, right? So today, what do we get? We get a court ruling. This is very interesting because things are starting to move. When you be an unconstitutional dictator, ruler of New York and all these other states, when their governor's doing it, the courts are starting to move. The mayors and the governors are starting to wake up and realize it's all coming to a halt. And it fits their political agenda, that it's done now more than before the election and stuff along those lines. The statement is, this does not allow for indoor dining in New York City, where it's prohibited by a separate executive order because of other factors, including its population density, rather than a classification as an orange zone. For immediate release, Governor Andrew M. Cuomo. Statement from the council to the governor on state Supreme Court decision on Erie County related to indoor dining. A court decision yesterday temporarily granted a select few restaurants located within an orange zone in Erie County the ability to resume indoor dining under the rules governing yellow zones. We are reviewing the decision while the process is blah, 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 blah. So things are starting to open. More things might start to open, but there's a catch. How does anyone know what they're really supposed to do in this? When they are supposed to open, how they are supposed to open, if they could open, and we still have those rascals that have their little Zoom meetings that are summarily suspending everyone's license at will with not a shred of discussion while they're at home on Zoom collecting their paychecks and fining people endless amounts of money. People are going to go into what we consider a honey trap, possibly. They're going to go right into that I could open. Maybe I can open. Everyone else can open. Why can't I open? I'm still going bankrupt and can't feed my family. And again, this can't happen in New York City, but that's possibly around the bend. So we have a post from one Danny Presti today on Facebook, and here it is. He tweeted to Joe Borelli. So Joe Borelli said, Governor Cuomo is pleased to announce he will still be crushing small businesses in New York City. He just announced the statewide orange zones are open as a result of that Erie County restaurant lawsuit. Doesn't apply to New York City yet. Bets on whether he changes his mind? If someone who bought into the governor's bullshit for the past few months, shame on you. Presti wrote back, Hey Joe Borelli, on February 2nd, Max Public House has a state Supreme Court case that will question the constitutionality of the mandates, parentheses, not laws. And we won't stop fighting until all businesses are opened. There are a few who stood up when everyone else bent the knee. The restaurants in Buffalo handled their end. We'll get the city open next. Now, I knew about this case for a while. I could not report it because I'm on an inner circle of knowledge of stuff. So, here we are. We're looking at everybody doing the battle, fighting. There I go. I'm using the word, fighting the battle. And it took court, it took lawsuits, and it took a lot of time. And these businesses, these people that are hanging on by a thread, and all of their workers, they don't have time. They don't have time to just, you know what? The court can't hear us for 3 years, so I'm just going to die of starvation after I get evicted, and then I'm going to win a lawsuit that changes nothing for me. Because this is the real world. Some people aren't privileged and rich, and they're not the governor. How about that? You used your word privilege. How you like me now? So, here we are. We're facing the moment where a Supreme Court hearing will occur. And there will be at some point a verdict, and we will know how we proceed. And it's funny because now all of a sudden, slowly, Cuomo is turning his tide. The other week, we're going to have to start the opening, or there's not, because he does not want to say I'm wrong. We talk about egotistical maniacs. That is an egotistical maniac, because he could just say, this has gone on far too long. I was wrong. And I can't believe I let it happen, among many other missteps that has happened during this entire pandemic. But instead, the Emmys will keep him afloat. It's Emmy time. Next, San Diego vaccination superstation event goes terribly wrong as many Moderna vaccine recipients are carted away in ambulances following vaccine injury. Eyewitnesses report for far more than 6 mentioned in the story. So, again, hearsay on the internet that there was more than 6, but the news, NBC News, posted about 6 allergic reactions and how you have to be monitored after getting this. I just tell everybody that is going to go forward and get it to be diligent. Make sure you're safe. Make sure you don't just go off the scene afterwards. Wait a little bit. Make sure you're feeling all right. All the power to you if that's your choice, if that's what you want to do. You know my stance on it for now. It's a no for me, dog. But for those that want it, just be safe about it. Keep your eye on everything that's going on and how you feel. Because, again, they pulled, in this specific case, they pulled that batch. So whatever lot number, they took all of those Modernas out because they said 6 allergic reactions in such a short time. And assuming it all matched that batch number and lot number, they had to get it out because it clearly seems it could have been a malfunction in the whole entire manufacturing process of it. But keep your eye out when you go for it. Now, let's see if I want to. So this tension's boiling. I have this just to make sure everybody knows that things aren't super peaceful at the Capitol right now because Antifa and Black Lives Matter are there, and they're really angry that that there's presence now. I don't know what, but here, just so you know what's going on. Again, I produce all of this stuff when I get home. Today I didn't really take much time. I ate soup. I have a sore throat, so there's a little fast forwarding going on.
You fucking bitch! Your ego, bitch! You're a bitch!
You guys stand?
All the other some bitches! Every single one of you!
You're going to die because of your actions.
Where the fuck were you?
You guys proud
Where
of
were
yourselves?
y'all? Where was all this energy at?
Because
Where were y'all at? Where were y'all at? Where was all this at, y'all? Look, they got guns, y'all! They got all this shit, y'all! You fucking bitch! Your ego, bitch! You're a bitch!
You guys stand?
All the other some bitches! Every single one of
So
you!
there you go. There is still not cool heads on the other side as well. So I hope the 20th goes off without any type of hitch. I'm happy that the soldiers are there to protect the area, and just everybody everywhere, keep your head on a swivel. Because tensions are indeed boiling. And if you want to leave a comment, you can leave a comment. I'm going to look through them really quick. I have a couple of videos about people's speech getting suppressed, and I will show those. They're just not all going to be shown today. I do want to end with that. No, not Tommy Vex. Hold on. This.
What's up, guys? Here at the Attila's Gym in Belmar, we are now in our 8th month of a very nasty, long, and drawn-out legal battle against Governor Philip Murphy and Judith Persichilli of the Health Department here in New Jersey. Most of you listening to this probably have at least some idea of what we've been through in the past 8 months. The most recent update as of yesterday was the implementation of a $15,497.76 per day fine for every day that Attila's Gym Belmar opens its doors to its members. Now, we have ongoing litigation in the matter, defending ourselves against the unconstitutional and oppressive nature of these fines. We also have ongoing litigation against the 80 municipal and criminal charges against us, ongoing litigation in the case of the revocation of our business license without due process, and the unconstitutional health department shutdown that was placed upon us in the first place. As of this morning, without warning and without permission and in the middle of litigation, Governor Murphy took it upon himself to empty our bank account entirely to the tune of $165,000. Now, as we do not charge our members, and we have not charged our members since April 1st, we have fought this legal battle and paid our bills entirely on donations from you guys, as well as t-shirt and merchandise sales in-store and online. This will not stop us. We will not stand down. We will continue to fight this fight because we know, based upon what is outlined in the Constitution, that when we get to the right courts and in front of a judge who respects the Constitution, we will win this case. And we will make sure that no governor or no government official will ever wield these powers ever again. So this will not stop us. We are asking for your continued support in any way possible. Please share this video on all platforms as much as you can. Continue to keep our story in the forefront. If you can donate, please donate. We have a secure fund now being started for ongoing litigation. If you want to buy some merchandise, we will get it out to you as soon as possible. We truly thank every single person who has helped us along the way over the past 8 months. I can't say that or stress that enough. This is the most important thing that Frank and I have ever done, and we are going to see it all the way through. Thank you guys very much. As soon as there is an update on the matter, I will post it.
Okay, so that was Ian Smith of Attila's Gym, and they somehow, I'd like to have more information, but the government seems to have locked and seized $165,000 and liquidated the account that they have, and they have endless fines in the millions at this point, and they're fined endlessly every day just for going into their gym and running their business. They are holding the line, and they're keeping the battle alive, and I hope they're right, and the courts see it the correct way, and they squash all of this hierarchy and disgusting tyranny that's coming from the top. So that is the news for the day. Tomorrow, I hopefully will have a brand new opening screen. I have some plans. It's going to be pretty cool. And I will see you tomorrow. Remember, everybody, we are the news now. We, the people, are the news. So share this. Get the words out there. And don't be scared to be yourself. You might get a little backlash, but is it better than just staying in the assembly line and following the directions like a lemming until you drop dead? That's up to you. But you have a voice. Feel free to use it. This is America. We are not conceding. We will always be America. Freedom of speech must reign supreme. I will see you later. This episode was very...
That was easy.
See you tomorrow, guys.